Let me make this point. Ben Affleck, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of people, is a good actor, okay? You have to be a good actor to play Batman, all right? You just do. There's hundreds of millions of dollars involved here. So let's tip our hat to him. You're a good actor. He did a great job in, oh, good grief. What's that? That life-changing movie, Good Will Hunting, where he was his buddy's sidekick. He did a great job. I love the movie, Good Will Hunting, with Robin Williams. And it was written by, come on.
Ben Affleck.
No, they did it together. This segment's going nowhere. All right, look. let's cut to the choice. Matt Damon, thank you. Good grief. You can see the role that Bread and Circuses plays in my life, okay? But Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, good actors. Good actors. Ben Affleck is an idiot when it comes to religion, all right? I'm sorry, Ben, God bless you. You don't know what the heck you're talking about, all right? And you actually embarrass yourself when you open your mouth. But he proves my point. Have you ever been to a meeting where there's a bunch of physicians, a bunch of doctors, and then listen to them start to talk maybe about politics or about religion or about investments in Wall Street, and then you start to shrink back and say, I'm letting this person touch my body? I'm letting them operate on me? Because they're just not that smart, okay? Genius in one area, study in one area, accomplishment in one area, doesn't mean squat in other areas. And I can promise you, Ben Affleck has not studied historic Islam, okay? He doesn't know the difference between a Hadith and a Sunnah and a Sunni and a Shiite. And I do, and hopefully you do too. But it takes time. You have to study it. So I was really impressed the other night. Bill O'Reilly started to say in his talking points, and I don't watch him very often, but I wanted to see what he had to say. And he said, basically, looking at Islam, it's fair game. It's fair game to look at Islam, to see if there's something inherent to Islam that produces violence. And he also did the right thing to say that not all Muslims are violent. But then, either he, his writers, his producers, somebody had the genius, and this is where all of the media, if they'll just listen, all right, if they will ask the question, what's up with Shari'ah law? Is Shari'ah law oppressive to human rights? Because O'Reilly had the smarts to show a poll that the Pew Research Center did, going down these Muslim nations, how the percentage of Muslims in these nations who wanted to live under Sharia law, okay? 80%, 85%, 99% in Pakistan. So if someone starts to ask, what's the connection between Sharia law and violence and oppression of minorities, then at some point, somebody has to say, hey, do you know where Sharia law came from? Once you ask that question, if you at least get to Sharia law and then ask the question, well, where'd Sharia law come from anyway? Bingo. If you answer that historically and accurately, you end up at the tent of Muhammad himself, okay? You end up in those bloody councils. You end up with Muhammad authorizing or ordering the assassination of people who mocked him, who satirized him. And then the Danish cartoon violence makes sense. Only then does it make sense. You have to know Sharia law, and you have to know the history of the life of Muhammad and his words and his deeds in his lifetime to go, I get it. And then you say, yeah, there is an inherent threat in Islam. Never mind the average Muslims, but in Islam. I mean, why else would you have, when the Danish cartoon thing broke out, why would you have literally hundreds of thousands of Muslims around the world screaming, baying for the blood of these cartoonists? Okay? Because it's Sharia law. It's their law. It's their faith. All right. I have to read, before we go, I know we got to take a break, but I'm going to read one more idiot statement. This came from the Oklahoma Conference of Churches. right after the beheading of, God rest her soul, Colleen Hufford. And by the way, this is made up of just about every denomination you can imagine, not Assemblies of God, but certain Catholic Church, Presbyterian Church, Episcopalian Church, some strong evangelical denominations. They're all part of this, okay? And this is what their statement said. This is the, oh my goodness, you guys need to be really embarrassed. Quote, all Oklahomans and people everywhere to not equate Mr. Nolan's actions with the beliefs and practices of the Islamic community in Oklahoma. The statement also said, the Islamic community of Oklahoma has consistently condemned all violence, most especially acts of violence ostensibly carried out in the name of Islam. Along with our Muslim brothers and sisters, we affirm that true Islam is, in fact, a religion of peace, and that those inflicting violence in the name of Islam are perverting Islam for their own ends. This is the, oh my goodness, you should be so embarrassed, and then from your embarrassment you should go to shame, move towards shame, and then shut up. Okay? You don't know what you're talking about. I'll guarantee you that the people who signed on to that, not one of them had ever read Ibn Ishaq's Life of the Prophet Muhammad, the most revered biography written by a devout Muslim ever written about Muhammad's life. Okay? You cannot read that book and then come away saying that Islam is a religion of peace and that those inflicting violence in the name of Islam are perverting Islam for their own ends. It's ludicrous. It's actually laughable. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because it's so funny. You had Muhammad asking people to murder people, okay? He asked someone to murder a woman in her own bed. And what was her crime? That she wrote verses of poetry that challenged Muhammad because Muhammad had authorized the murder of one of her friends. So she gets murdered at Muhammad's behest, okay? Know what you're talking about. Get the book. Get the book. I'm sorry, I shouldn't talk harshly to you. You're my viewer. You enjoy the show. That's why you're here. Bill Mayer, Ben Affleck, or Meyer, whatever his name is, Ben Affleck, folks at CNN, Aslan. I'm sure that Aslan has read it, and he's just a deceiver. But read the works of the biographers of Muhammad. And then, here's a quarter. You can go and buy a clue.